We're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. I'm Alex Worley. This is Business Rockstars, and today's rock star, Brad Yasar. He is the managing partner of Yasar Corporation. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. So tell me first, what is Yasar Corporation?
Yasar Corporation is a company I started almost 15 years ago, and we started working with my father on international consulting deals, large consulting deals together, and then it transformed into a consulting business for startups and entrepreneurs because all the corporate experience we gained is actually very valuable for someone starting a business. And it also turned into an investment arm so that not only we can mentor up-and-coming business men and women, but also be able to finance them when it's appropriate.
Well, you're going to be so helpful today because that's our audience, startups and entrepreneurs. So glad you're here. You have been an entrepreneur for a long, long time. You started your first company before you were in high school. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I started my journey as a technologist. I started writing code on a Commodore 64. This was before PCs were small enough to be in households. And took it from there, saw some opportunities to actually write very simple code that facilitated transactions in shops, shared it with a couple of shopkeepers, which is always my advice to up-and-coming entrepreneurs. Sell your product first before you build it. And once you know there's demand, you can build it with confidence that there's a market for it. So that's exactly what I did without even knowing that that was a good strategy. And it went really well. There was a lot of interest. And, after a while, it actually became very time consuming. And I wanted to focus on school. So that company was sold.
Wow, what a great hobby to have as a kid, coding, one that pays off a lot more than soccer or basketball usually, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. So you were an entrepreneur throughout high school and college, and then at some point you said, hey, I don't even know how to sell. So then you took probably a pay cut and then worked for somebody else and learned how to sell. Tell me more about that.
That's exactly true. What happened was after college, I had another company which got very, very high interest from our first beta clients. So I didn't even get to sell the product. And after that, I realized I need to learn how to sell things because I may have the best ideas, but if I don't know how to sell, not enough people are going to be exposed to it. I may not make money from it, which is a problem for a lot of startups that build things but can't really find the market fit. So I took an inside sales job, did that for a year and a half until I was very comfortable talking to strangers, talking to potential clients, really highlighting the value of what I'm doing. And it was a great learning experience.
So you mentor a lot of startups and entrepreneurs. What's the most common question that you get?
The most common three questions I get are, can you invest in my company? Can you mentor us? And then can you find us more money? So most of the time, the mentorship either starts as assistance on identifying new potential investors, or there's a specific need. Before I start getting involved in any business or any entrepreneur, I just do a quick analysis. I ask a few questions. I try to understand what their personal strengths are, what the strengths of their co-founders or the team is, and then where they're coming short. Most of the time, startups don't think about branding. That's a second thought. They don't think about marketing. And unfortunately, they don't think about pre-selling what they're doing. There is this Silicon Valley effect where everyone thinks if I get to X amount of users, there's going to be value generated by this company, and I'm going to probably be in a good place to raise more money or monetize it. If you start thinking about what's my brand message, how am I going to market this, and who's going to buy this? If you start there, you can get a very strong insight about where you are within the space you're playing really fast, even without creating a single thing. You don't even have to have a pitch deck. You just go and talk to people and say, hey, would you buy this? Does this make sense? Is this something you need? Because I think you need this and it's valuable. And that dialogue really speeds up the early learning process and all the pitfalls that come with learning sales after you created the product.
More when we come back with my guest, Brad Yasar. He is the managing partner of Yasar Corporation. We're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. I'm Alex Worley, and this is Business Rockstars. We're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. I'm Alex Worley, and this is Business Rockstars. Joining me, Brad Yasar. He is the managing partner of Yasar Corporation. You were telling me that the startups and entrepreneurs you work with, a lot of times they have fundraising questions. So when you are new at this, where do you begin with fundraising?
Well, I think the main thing to understand is it's going to take longer, and you're going to have to talk to a lot of people. Now, how can you speed up that process? That's by doing homework. I have a published article on LinkedIn about it, but basically the gist of it is start researching people who have had exits or who have successful companies in your industry or who could be potential clients. Start reaching out to those people and start those conversations early. Again, that's going to allow you to, one, find out who is actively investing in your space and potentially not only find investors, but find clients. So the best kind of investment is you go to someone, you ask them, hey, do you like this product? Would you buy it? And they say yes. And then they think about it that night and realize how much of a brilliant idea this is. And then they come back to you and say, actually, how about, I invest if you're still taking money? So it's very organic. If you just...
So you don't even approach them about money. You just ask their opinion at
Exactly,
first.
exactly. But as much of homework you do up front and understand the investors you want to go after, quicker the process. Otherwise, you talk to 100 people and one may move to the second round of doing due diligence and maybe writing a check. So it's a numbers game. You have to be persistent. You have to just prepare for it and understand that you don't want to fundraise forever. So that becomes your job for a month, for 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes you to get to your target. And then you need to go back to focusing on the business.
Now, of all the startups that you've either worked with or witnessed, I know you probably don't have an approximate number, but how many would you say end up being successful?
The majority fails within the first year or first 3 years.
So what's the distinguishing factor that allows the successful ones to be successful?
Well, for me, the number one factor is the team. Everything else is a quicker fix than trying to change the founder's attitude or their ability to cope with stress and persistency. Things like that are very difficult. So if there's a good team and the team members are cohesive, that's a pretty good indication of potential success. The second thing is timing. Sometimes you build the best product or start the best business. If your timing is not at least in the ballpark of where it needs to be, it may not work, even with the best team and the best product.
And do you mean like timing as in demand for what you're offering or timing for like how long it takes you to get to market? What do you mean by timing?
Both. I mean, it's all about doing your homework.
Yeah.
Even long before you do your homework about investors, you do your homework about your idea. You would be surprised how many entrepreneurs I talk to, and I ask them, who are your competitors? And they tell me, we don't have any competitors. We're, first to market. And I get excited. I go home, get in front of my computer.
Google search.
Yes, type in Google, XYZ, platform or solution, and there's a dozen people doing the same thing, maybe slightly different ways, but if you don't recognize the market structure and conditions, then you're prone to a lot of surprises. Like, oh, someone else is doing the same thing at half the price, and what am I going to do? Like, they're a revenue stage company. I'm trying to raise funds.
And
Things like
obviously,
that.
just because you have competitors doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to market. It just means that you should,
Be aware.
be aware and maybe,
And
tweak
understand,
accordingly.
yeah, and understand where they're going. Like,
Yeah.
understand their product line. Maybe your product is so much more superior. Again, you can go to those competitors and say, hey, if I did this, would you be my customer? And I'll white label it to you, and you gain a customer.
Mhm.
And, maybe you get an investor because the CEO loves the project. He's not going to, leave his company, but he'll become an investor. So it's all about preparing and doing enough research to understand what you're getting into.
Well, sounds like you're a busy guy, so thank you so much for giving us your time today and for all of your insight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.